So I'm going to present some forms of Qigong. And Qigong literally means, Qi means energy, Gong means to generate. It's a Chinese skill, science. And there are many different forms of Qigong, so I'm using a particular sequence of moves that is portable, I think, not too complicated and accessible, and doesn't require any particular strength, physical strength. You can do it at any age. And I present this because it's helped me a lot in both healing my own aspects of my own body, particular back damage and posture problems, as well as generating steady vitality. So when we talk about energy, I'm not talking about power, but vitality, life force. And this Qi is synonymous with what in Indian word prana, very similar, and in Buddhist understanding, pana is this quality that is associated with breathing in and out, anapanasati. So this is the quality of vitality or energy that moves through the body and moderates breathing and can be steadied and calmed in breathing exercises and caused to suffuse the entire body, so there's a quality of spacious, calm, and at the same time it's not dull or restricted. Spacious, calm, alive but steady. So this is why I practice it, and I've done it for 20, 25 years or so, and increasingly I present it to people on retreats because they find it beneficial in many ways. Helps to relieve tension, physical pain, and give people a greater access to the more beneficial aspects of the body, which is its own vitality. Okay, so that's very brief. And what I'm going to do is present 3 stages of it. First will be just some we'll call warm-ups. That's helping to loosen the body and get a full experience of the body, because so many people, most of their body is up here. They feel their body here or even just here, and it's kind of not very, a bit numb beneath the head because there's so much energy going up into the head and shoulders. This is why we think so much and get tense. So first thing is to learn to loosen the body so that there's less tension, and we get perhaps a more complete experience of the body in a stable and comfortable way. Second phase will be to do with some movements that can help to both open and amplify energy channels in the body and cause energy to move through the body to release stuck areas, blocks, staleness. And the third will be static form, which is more to do with just increasing the strength of the energy. So, and I'll talk things through as we go along. First thing to bear in mind is that with this energy, for healthy energy has to have the two forms to it. One is the active, what we do, and the other is receptive, how we receive and sensitize. And it's important to bear this in mind because most people will tend to notice and emphasize the active and not notice the receptive. But the point is, receptive is equally important because this is what receives the energy that you generate. If you don't have the receptive, it's not stored. So as this is a Chinese form, we use the term yin for receptive and yang for active. So there must be both of them. This is why the actual doingness of Qigong is not that forceful. It's never 100% of push, it's often seemingly quite mild in the physicality of it. So, first thing is when we come, it's all done standing. First thing is we come into the standing position, and you need to find enough space, so this is your body's width. So clearly you're not going to knock anything. Also, you feel you have enough space. The ground beneath you is comfortable. If it's cold, you should wear slippers so the feet are happy to rest on the floor. They're not tensed against it, because it's one of the most important parts of the body in Qigong is the feet and the ankles. Unless we get a good connection to the ground, the earth, then it's not going to be beneficial. So coming into the standing position, and this is something to develop, because often we don't stand very well. We tend to lean, like this, or lean on something. I don't stand very long. But with Qigong, you can stand for a considerable period of time, because if you establish proper balance, the standing is almost effortless, and it's quite comfortable. So taking up the standing position, the legs are body width apart, so you can feel coming down straight from your hips. Your legs are not straddled, and they're not tightly pinched together. So the underarch of the legs feel open. Second thing is that the feet are parallel rather than normally people would stand like this with their feet like this. You want to have your feet parallel. This is slightly strange. First. Third aspect of the standing is that your knees are slightly bowed as if you're straddling something. So the idea is that the knee should be over the center of the foot. Okay. The next thing is the legs are not locked. They're not straight, they're not stiff, but they're slightly loose, so you can feel the spring. And the knees are maybe just slightly bent, flexy. The most important feature of it is that the muscles in the upper leg and the lower leg are both available. Now, if their legs are stiff, those muscles are essentially locked, trapped. So you want the legs to be loose enough. Anywhere where the muscles are hard is going to limit the flow of energy. So we don't want hard muscles in this form, because these act as blocks to the energy. So the muscles must be loose. Yeah. And a lot of the exercise is actually not on the major power muscles, but on the connective tissues, the sinews, and opening up the joints of the body. Standing, so we have that, the legs, the feet. The next stage is the tail. And the tailbone should be as if rather like a dog when a dog tucks its tail between its legs. Yeah, you have a slight sense of turning the tail under just a little. So the attitude can be about to sit down. Sometimes it's even called the horse riding position. So you're about to sit down. This means that the buttock muscles are not carrying the weight of the body, but the weight of the body is coming down through the legs into the floor. This is an important principle. Also, that the abdomen is not tight, so we might see if you're just slightly pulling that back. So any pressure here, muscular pressure, is relaxed by drawing the abdomen slightly in. These are very slight movements. So the aim is that at the end of it, it's not that you're holding the position, but the position feels settled in itself. You don't have to grip it. So you relax into a particular form. As that occurs, what will begin to become clear is now the legs are doing the holding, and here is relaxed, and in the back side is relaxed. And as you spread your awareness up your body, bringing the arms slightly away from the sides of the chest, and the phrase is as if we have blackbird's eggs in the armpits. You may never have had a blackbird's egg in your armpits, so you might not know what that is. But now is the time to imagine it. So it's too wide, you drop them. It's too tight, you squash them. Lightness. Imagine. Some of this movement is done just by signaling, that is, sending an imaginary impression into the body and letting the body respond. So the signal, blackbird's egg in the armpit, widening the back. So it's not as if we really do very much, but imagine the back is wider. And this can help certain unconscious holding to release. But certainly this is not about doing anything deliberately, other than just sending a message in. Back can be wide, plenty of space. There might be a tiny physical movement, but there's also like an energetic movement, and even a psychological attitude. We feel more spacious. Standing form. The arms are long, trailing down. Hands, if they're relaxed, the hands have a slight curvature to them. Palms feel open. Extending your awareness up through the shoulders. Remember, the neck is the continuation of the spine, and this is something that is not normally experienced. Normally a head operates separately from the body. It's often leaning forward. Now we try to make sure the neck is very much just an extension of the spine, coming up into the back of the head. And the skull itself, bringing up the idea, the impression of the skull, the box of bone, resting on top of the neck bones. As if it could just rest there. Like I sometimes imagine a fountain with a ball in the fountain, the way the ball would bubble as that fountain held it up. So in other words, encouraging the muscles in the neck to be soft and relax, loosening the jaw. Yeah. So if the head is now just almost floating on top of the neck. Loosening the jaw, loosen the tongue, relaxing the tongue, and then also around the eyes, as if the eyes are now focused at infinity, the gaze, and also around the eye socket here, these subtle muscles are relaxed. Many, many muscles in the face, and the theme to bear in mind is if you don't need the muscle to be active, relax it, otherwise it will carry tension, it will block the flow of energy. So the more that we can access even subtle muscles like the fingers or the palms and check and release them, then the softer the body feels and the more the energy is allowed to circulate, and one comes into balance, and the balance is the body's intelligence, sensing absence of pressure. The energy then can flow readily through the body. This is by no means like a volcanic energy or a kundalini. It's just a simple sense of warm vitality. Coming up through the head, the forehead, you have as if you have a band around here, from the forehead, the temples, and back to the back of the skull. Just imagine you're unwrapping bandage or a headscarf. If this is affected over a period of time, you may be able to be more sensitive to the scalp, the top of your head, because these muscles are relaxed. Therefore, the top of the head becomes more apparently felt, sensing the space above your head. The last point, and it can be good to have a friend tell you about your posture, because we can't see our own bodies, and it's not uncommon for people to unconsciously be standing like this. You know, to them it feels straight. For myself, I used to stand like this and it felt straight. You know, so if you get a friend, say, no, no, no. That's more like it. Hopefully you have a friend, but if you're on your own for a while, then you place a hand here, you place a hand here, and that will tell you, you'll be able to sense, oh no, that's about it. Yeah, and it can feel unusual, because not that many people stand properly in a balanced way. When you get used to it, you begin to learn that, or reset your impression of your body, it becomes very balanced. There's a quietness about the standing, because no muscles are being used other than those which are absolutely necessary just to sustain the form. And with the release of the muscles, there's a release of tension and a flow of energy. This form, Chinese, is called Wu Qi. Qi, again, that word energy, empty, Wu, empty energy or empty force. So the body is, in a way, empty of these internal tangles, and energy can flow and be felt within that. For a beginner, this itself may still feel unusual, and if you do it early in the morning, you may feel dizzy, because it's the tension that's normally holding you up. When you release it, you feel disoriented. So anytime you feel dizzy, you should sit down. It's good to do this perhaps, maybe not straight after a meal, but within a few hours of having eaten. So the body is properly resourced. This form itself, if you can do this just for 5 minutes in a day, a few times a day, it will certainly give you benefits. Wu Qi. This is the fundamental and perhaps the most important Qigong form. You always return to this to let your energies settle and integrate. Now I'll show some loosening up moves. And you may do these before you stand longer. First of all, we need to roll around on the feet so the feet feel really alive and supple. The feet, when they're in shoes, become numbed. Shoes are like coffins for the feet. The feet just trapped in that. So they lose their flexibility and sensitivity. We don't feel very much in the feet. So rolling, just the edges of the feet, and then tilting, coming up onto the toes. Then pulling the toes back, coming up onto the heels. Lifting, feel what's happening in your calves. Pulling the toes back, stretching the soles of the feet, rolling on the feet. All this helps to supple the feet and give them some strength. They should be, in fact they are, cousins or brothers and sisters of the hands. So these two sets of appendixes should have a similar energy and quality to them, which of course in our modern day that's not so, because our feet become like stumps. So activating and energizing the feet is a really necessary thing. Also the ankles. I think a Chinese expression is you're as old as your ankles. In other words, the ankles act as the channels for energy coming up from the earth into the body. So if these ankles are stiff, we don't get that energy and the vitality. So we'll do a few turns to massage or flex the ankles and also the knees. And if you like to meditator, your knees will benefit from some care. So this form massages the ankles and the knees. And the theme here is to draw circles with your knees. And the wider the circle is, the more flexion will occur in the tissues that brace the knee joint, above and below the knee and around the knee. These are the important ones, the ones that get stiffened and stretched when you sit in lotus or half lotus position. Now, to bring the feet close together, as close as you can without the ankle bones touching the other one. And bend your knees so you can just see your toes sticking out from your kneecaps. Turn your body over so that the base of the fingers rests on the kneecaps, not the heel of the hand. So this area, you touch with that. You want to avoid putting that on, because if you put the heel of your hand on, you're very likely going to lean the weight of your body on your knees. That's what you don't want. You want to just touch, making contact. Keep the palm of the hand open with nothing touching it, so the palm of the hand opens up, stays open. So then we touch, rest on the kneecaps, then you begin to draw circles, keeping the soles of the feet adhered to the floor so they're not tilting up as you move. And the theme being that then the flexion will occur in your ankles and your knees. So start gently, see how your knees are. If they crack and crunch, go slow. Slower the better. Nice wide circles, slow, and you are looking at 20 to 30 of these moves, circling clockwise and anti-clockwise. I don't think it matters which direction you start with, as long as you do both. So now my shoulders are not pressing down on my knees. And as you gain more confidence, you can widen the circle, but I wouldn't think of going faster. This is sometimes what one instinctively does when things are going well. You start to thrash around a bit, you're quite enjoying the movement, but if you enjoy it, slow it down so that the quality of the energy can more suffuse the body. Too much vigor, you burn the energy off. So we do 20, 25 in one direction, pause, and then repeat in the other direction. Being sensitive to what's happening in the kneecaps and not pushing it. If it feels delicate, go slow to accomplish smooth circles. Having completed your number of rotations, of course you can build it up to more if you like. Return to the standing position. Once again, checking legs straight down. Some people like it a little wider. Feet parallel, knees over the center of the feet, legs relaxed, tail turned under, back to the Wu Chi position. Now we can move from there to another loosening form. This also helps to reset the body and the way it operates. Now, characteristically, people tend to lead from their shoulders when they do things. So this area of the body becomes the more energized. And now we want to begin to accomplish movements, keeping all this area completely relaxed. So resetting, and the body has to be educated in a way to let the hips and the legs do the work, and the upper body, the arms and the hands, to be empty. So the way we'll do this is to do turns. Turns are the first thing. We turn by, say, bend your right knee, pull the toes of the left foot up, pivot on the left heel. Down, pivot on the right heel. And as you get into that, the weight is on the bent leg. Straight leg carries no weight. And pull the toes back so you straighten behind the leg. Pull the toes back. You can almost feel like a wire or a string running up that straight leg. And use the turn to let the upper body trail around, the arms can flap. And we're not throwing the arms, but letting them be turned by the momentum generated through the legs. And the more you bend your knee, the more vigorous the form is. And you can add to that another piece, which is to do with coordination. And in this Qigong, we are coming to, or beginning to, improve the connectivity of the body. The principle being that when one part moves, one part of the body moves, the rest of the body is still with that. It's either moves slightly, or at least opens, or is receptive to it. So the body operates as an entirety, rather than disconnected pieces doing stuff the rest of the body's not involved with. So with this one very simple example, as you do that turn, let the string that runs up the back of your legs pull your back over, just like you're a string puppet. So, in other words, this. So, loosening up. And as we do that, turn as you come back. The backward turn throws the body up, and the sideways turn pulls the body over. Loosening up, and everything being interconnected. Again, any of these you can extend it for a few minutes as you like. Yeah. These are just pleasant loosening up forms that give vitality. These two. Third form I'll show you is the string puppet. I call it the string puppet for obvious reasons. So taking up our standing form. Hands, arms being loose. Swing, let the arms swing. And in this Qigong, understanding of the body, the limbs are important. And the articulation of the limb. And so we say that the arm begins in the back, the shoulder blade. So the shoulder is connected to the arm. Of course it is. But rather than the shoulder being just stiff with the arm moving underneath it, the shoulder moves the arm. So we move from the back. And do a few turns. Get the full articulation of that shoulder joint. And as you do so, moving the shoulder in such a way the hand and the arm themselves are really loose, rather like a string that you can flick it. Loosening the elbow, the fingers operate from the shoulder. Loosen up. So if we lift the shoulder and cut the imaginary string, the arm flops down, coming into the string puppet. And with the string puppet, we imagine we have a string on the back of the wrist, and the puppet master is going to pull the strings. So, the back of the wrist, if it's being pulled up, cut the string, it drops. The other piece that you may find helpful, and I find quite adds a certain touch to it, is to imagine something round and soft is coming into the palm of your hands. So as if your hand, your palm, your fingers are just gently cradled around something warm and soft, and this is moving up at the same time as the wrist is being pulled. You see how high it's going to go. As if you can almost let yourself be about to be lifted off the ground. So you feel a lengthening in your torso. And then turning over when it feels that's as far as it can go, or comfortable, lengthening experience. Turning the hands over. Completing a circular movement without losing touch with any part of that circle, so it's not dropped. You retain awareness of the complete circle. And then the form repeats, comes again. So the action, the yang aspect of it, smooth, not that vigorous or powerful, smooth, composed, coordinated, so that our mind is not too preoccupied with movement, but also the receptivity is aware of smooth, soft, flowing, and a certain stillness within the movement. That is, this aspect of your body feels very still, and the movement is operating around it. So the central aspect of the body is steady, light, still, taking in any effects that are generated through this movement. Now, what can occur with this, which really does benefit a lot, is connecting it to the breathing. I realize this isn't always possible for many people whose breathing is rather short. So you may need to work towards that, begin with the physical movement and connect what you can. The connectivity is, this is the in-breath. You might go a little faster to try to cover all that with your in-breath, and then breathing out is this form. As you breathe out, open the palms of the hands, as if you're breathing out through the palms of the hands. Breathing in through the nose. Qigong, you breathe through the nose. Fine thread of breath. Breathing out through the nose, a fine thread of breath, sending the energy out through the palms of your hands. And the out breath. So, this is something to cultivate, I suggest, several minutes. But I don't want to put too many numbers on the minutes. The important thing is to feel a quality of gradually just making it smooth and more comfortable so that you enjoy it. You're not pumping it, you're not struggling, so move towards a sense of something that becomes almost as if it's doing it by itself and you can just enjoy the suppleness and the fluidity and its growing stillness. Now, when I use a phrase like sending energy out through the palms of your hands or breathing out through the palms of your hands, that may sound mysterious. It's not a big push. It's the encouragement to let the palm of the hand open from the center as if it is expanding. So not just up and down, but also widthways, and expanding. And just set up the intention as if one could send something out through that palm. Set up the mental intention as if one could breathe something out with the out-breath through the arm to the palm of the hand. Naturally, when you do that, you feel a certain tingling and activation in the palm of the hand. Just opening it. Not forceful, steady, spreading, opening quality. And relaxing and breathing in. And breathing out. As we come to, so we feel comfortable with that, to come to conclusion, slow it down as if it's like a boat coming into the harbour, a rowboat coming into the harbour. It slows down, it just coasts towards the dock till you're left floating. So my recommendation with these forms is they don't cut end of one, but they subside into stillness. And as you subside into stillness, you're returning to the Wu Qi position, feeling how that feels, letting things settle, and experiencing qualities such as warmth or stillness or openness or release, and any mind states that go along with that. This is a meditation. Now, so there's the outer form, which we can see with our eyes, and the inner form is what you feel. And the inner form is most important, because this is where energy is moving and you're getting the effects. So keep your outer form something that's you get comfortable with, refine it, and be receptive enough to sensitize to the inner qualities. So these two, I think, are very useful warm-ups. I'll show you another one. And if you have, depending how much time you have 15 minutes, you might just do one of these warm-ups and one moving form and then stand. So you don't have to do all of it. But this one is very useful, called Qua squat. Qua. Qua refers to this place in the body where the leg joins the torso, the main trunk of the body. Qua squat. This, first of all, you're standing, find an area called the Dandian, which means something like an energy gate. The lower Dandian, which sits below the navel, and you might approximately find that by tracing your thigh bone to the point where it enters the pelvis. Put your thumbs there and draw your fingers across. Also, if you breathe out deliberately and fully and squeeze, you'll find it's round about there, Dandian. It's not a pinpoint, it's kind of, like a small ball. This point, as we cultivate, you're going to draw this point back towards the sacrum, which is directly anterior to that, posterior to that. Pulling that in, and to facilitate that, you bend at the hip joint, which is where the legs join the pelvis and not at the waist joint, where the pelvis and the lumbar region meet. Yeah, so you have the lumbar vertebrae come down and enter the pelvis. So there you have the lumbar joint, and you have the hip joint, or the legs, where the legs join the pelvis, and that's somewhat lower. This area here we'd like to keep cohesive, or not bend it, and instead tip here. This can also help to alleviate difficulties in this region of your body. Often places in your body become stressed because certain hinges are overused. They're used too much, they wear out. The area here gets extremely stressed by postural problems such as sitting in a chair, sitting in a car. So all this area, the discs get squashed, and this area here becomes problematic, and it affects much of the rest of the spine. So if we can keep that lumbar pelvic connection straight and not hinging, let it relax and do the hinging somewhere else in the legs, you certainly activate some important tissues here, stretch the sacroiliac region, and do your back a lot of good. I've been in an airplane or a car sitting for a while, get out and do this to get the back straight again. When I say straight, it's not actually straight, it's a curve. So to return to that natural curve rather than that collapsed state that chairs put you in. Okay, so to model it, breathing out, bending at the hip, at the leg joint, tilting over, breathing out, keeping your back as straight as possible, so not turning your shoulders over, down, turning your tail under, not sticking your backside out. So if you turn your tail under, again, you get a better something, stretch these here, lengthen these here, that's all good stuff. That's a squat. And what is not occurring is this, where we don't want that pulling your shoulder over. Your back is then doing this. And that compresses this region. Now, if it's straight, this region is not compressed, the abdominal region. As I come to the end of my out-breath, I then push down through my knees and just use the legs to bring the body up, keeping this area relaxed, not pulling up through your chest, pushing and letting your abdomen open up. In breath. Breathing out. Breathing in. When I say the word breathing in, breathing out, that's the nature of English language. It always makes it something that I'm doing. But actually, perhaps more accurate would be to say allowing the breathing to occur, being breathed in and being breathed out. So it's a very receptive, non-directive breathing. Legs are doing the breathing. They're operating the breathing. Breathing out. Push down, let the in-breath come up. Opening this part of your body. fully. And this opening here sucks and it breaks down your nose. Now, over a period of a few moves, a few of those movements, you may begin to get the sense of this area feeling more full, and even beginning to sense something as it lifts up into your chest. And then letting that coming up into your chest, opening the chest, letting the arms roll back. Here, quality, the theme is opening. Now, for the point of these forms, we consider the surfaces of the body to be of two qualities. So they called the hard surfaces. This is the backs of the hands, the back itself, the outer edges of the legs, and these are clearly quite distinctive. In my body, the back surfaces are tougher, more sensitive is the soft. Maybe the skin is thicker or something, but it's quite obvious. Face is all soft tissue, back of the head, the hard. And the hard tissue is there to form a certain sense of protection, and the soft tissue is to open, take in. So we include the entire body in this form, feeling the strengthening of the outer edges of the legs and the back, and then the opening of all the soft tissues, the face, the chest, the hands, so everything is opening up. Just like we're walking into a fresh day, a new moment, we're open to that. So these are loosening. Do 3, 4, 5 minutes as you feel. It will certainly develop over time, and if you let yourself go from trying to get it right to feeling about right, to feeling confident, to enjoyment, that's the movement. And turn into standing. So that's the end of the loosening phase. And now we're going to the more more active stuff, or more generative stuff. This is based upon a rendition of 8 moves called the silk brocade, which there are many different forms. This is a very simple form, 8 silk brocade, 8 moves, Ba Duan Jin. And in the classical form of these, you do 8 of each move, 8 eights. So once we've come into a standing, and now perhaps you feel your body is all here. It's a little more tingly, alive. Wherever your feet and your ankles, positions. And we'll come into the first Ba Duan Jin, which is called raising the sky. Raising the sky. So to give some explanation of that, I like to do it first of all because if I'm talking, then my attention is slightly divided into the expressing it and doing it. So to do it first of all, then I'll express it. So we come into the standing position. You bring your arms back till they're chest, this line here is opened up. This line here, where the arm meets the chest, often slightly closed, because we're doing things. Opening up here so that whatever energy is generated can move between the arms and the rest of the body. And anywhere that's closed, it's going to make it more difficult. So check these points where the limbs join the body, and wherever muscles tighten up. These are what restricts the energy. So you bring your arm back, so this area is open, feels open. And then you bring your hands around so the palms are flat to the sky. This twists in the forearm, wrist, turn it round, and you may sense your fingernails are, if you have no hair, of course, it helps, or touching the crown of your head. Fingers, tips, just maybe the longest fingers just about touching or very close to each other. So now, it's going to be towards the back of the head or roughly in line with the ears, crown. So now we bring up the impression of the sky resting on those palms and feeling the weight of the sky. And now the body, imagine to be like a coiled spring or a shock absorber. So that weight of the sky is coming down to the hands, down the back, into the legs and into the ground, through the feet. So this is not a shoulder exercise, it's a whole body exercise. And so we first of all establish a sense of the whole body receiving the weight of the sky. With the out breath, you feel strength in your legs. You come up your back and you breathe out. As you breathe out, so the sense of this is that the upward movement is coming up the legs and up the back, so your shoulders as if they're being lifted from underneath, as if someone else is taking hold of your arms and pulling you up. Yeah, so it's coming underneath the shoulder blades. And coming underneath the shoulder blades means the hands are kept together. Now if we lift our shoulders alone, we do this. So top of the shoulders, you want to have them as receptive as possible. Coming up your back, doesn't really matter how high you go. Most important thing is you redress the muscular operation from being upper shoulder neck to back legs. Yeah? Because that's what we want to do. We want to get this stuff here to loosen up because this gets tight. If it's less tight and the energy is coming up from the back, we can send energy through this area. Yeah. And that will certainly benefit as you breathe out. Extend, and then with the in-breath, breathing out, and with the in-breath, most important that the in-breath, which is, the in-breath is normally with the relaxing aspect of it. So as if the in-breath gathers up the energy. The out-breath, loosens everything when we breathe out, but it also is, and that loosening of the textures of the body, you let your energy run through and extend. And then with the in-breath, breathing in, you let your energy draw back. So that's the gathering. So both those aspects, as you can recognize, are equally important. There's no point doing the movement unless you can gather it. So it's not about power. Yeah. It's about proper changing the way you use your back and breathing in, gathering up the energy. So in this one, you can even do it without moving your hands. You can even do it just imagining pressure coming down and taking a firm stand, and then you breathe out as if you're really resisting against that. And so you just then activate the muscles. You just give them a signal to brace and to lengthen. That's the most important thing, because it's the sending the intention and the signal into the body. That's what gets it to direct its energy there. Right? So, when you send a signal to the body, like pick that up, energy runs to the places that can do the picking up. It does that. Now, whether you pick it up or not, doesn't matter. You say, imagine I'm about to pick that up with my right hand. Energy runs down to that area of your body. That's what you want. You want the energy to move. So how much you actually do the movement really depends on what your body's capable of. Often the back muscles are rather weak or undeveloped, but this activates them, says, okay, just lift what you can, lengthen what you can, and then take it in. And it will develop, as most of these things do, with repeated, careful exercise and attention. So not important, not lifting weights, we're changing which parts of our body switch on. Raising the sky. We do 8 of these, at the end of the 8th, so make it something you can manage. And then at the end of the 8th one, you let your hands roll over. The image here is as if you have a large ball, resting your hands on the ball as it's going down through water. So it's a slow, and resting the weight of your arms on the ball as it goes down through water. And returning to standing position. You might need to check because your feet do spread out. Take a few moments, pause. Check the posture. And we go into the next form, separating earth and sky. Separating earth and sky. So let's rub your hands together. Push. And activate the hands. So imagine these two hands are like little creatures on the end of your arms. Their own life. Close your eyes, you can feel your hands move around each other. So bringing awareness and attention into your hands, into all the qualities those hands have. So drawing the abdomen in. Doesn't look like, because I have this, my lower robe forms a big lump here. That's not my belly sticking out. So actually the abdomen is receded, but you've got a lump of cloth here which perhaps obscures it. Now, so here we have the ball again, and so the sense of the hands are light cup and a light cap, resting on the ball. And this is, so the lower hand might be just the diaphragm, the upper hand about the breastbone, or maybe just above it. Always good to bring your arms out from your body so you're not tight. Standing like this, just check your thumb is loose, fingers are relaxed. Mostly focus on the palms, center of the hand, and awareness spreading out from the center of the hand to the fingers, keep everything nice and open. The claws don't form. So separating earth and sky, when you have that form, with the breathing out. Okay, now I'll explain that. So with the breathing out, the upper hand goes through 90 degrees, palm parallel to the floor. Not like that, parallel. Similarly, the lower hand goes through 180 degrees, and that's flat to the sky. Not that, not that. So the angle of the wrist here is quite acute. And of course, this all depends on what your wrist can do, but we're inclining towards that. Now that is actually not at all uncomfortable for me. It's quite, my textures, my tissues are rather supple, so that is not difficult. So see if you can come to that quality. You're going to get a little bit of pressure here. And now as you extend your arm, keep that angle. So if you've got a dinner plate there with spaghetti on it, you don't want to let it drop the sauce or the noodles. So this is not good, useless. Because what we want is that effect in the arms. We want that effect of a slight energizing, stretching effect. Okay? So that, and so both are flat to the sky, flat to the earth. The next thing is they move equally. That is the downward movement. Everything is moving together at the same time, and everything comes to a halt at the same time. Yeah. Now, for many people, what happens is the downward movement finishes before the upward movement. You might need to raise your hands a little, or just go until one of them stops. One of them stops, both of them stop. So try to keep the sense of them being synchronized, even if the upper arm could go longer. The lower arm saying, that's as far as I go, so the upper arm sympathetically comes to a halt. There's synchronicity, and breathing in, synchronicity, gathering the ball turns, and breathing out. So the synchronicity is important because we want to have that sense of the body operating as a single unit rather than as two separate bits going their own way. So what can help with that is to have the image, the impression that the ball itself is expanding. It's the ball that expands, and of course the ball will expand in all directions. So everything moving together. And if you cultivate this, first of all, obviously your attention will be on your hands, getting that right. And then as you get more comfortable with it, extend your awareness to include your legs and your feet. So get your awareness to also lengthen over the entire form. So we are sensing the earth and the sky. And you notice then as you breathe out, earth, you feel perhaps the soles of your feet, a certain strengthening effect, and breathing in, energy also moving through the legs and this upper body. So 8 of these. Another point to introduce is the sense of what I call the spinal axis, or also called the midline in craniosacral understanding. So this runs from the crown of the head down. It's not a physical line, it's an energy line, or runs down around the front, the ventral side of the spine, so in front of the spine, so behind the voice box, down into the sacral region, and then down through the legs into the soles of the feet. This underarch, which is the sensitive aspect of the foot. This underarch of the foot. And so when you're doing Wu Qi, as you stand, as you get used to that, I would be particularly attentive to this underarch of the foot, as if you're listening to the earth. And you may over time experience a certain bubbly, tingly quality in that part of your body. This is called the crystal spring. Now, so this midline is one thing to begin to bear in mind. So everything operates around that midline, that thread, that central axis, and we avoid breaking it or twisting it. And as you stand, you feel continuity through your body. And you can almost draw your attention back from the visual field to the tactile sense of the periphery of your body, your skin, the warmth, the boundary. And then really within that, without losing any of that, but also extending your awareness in to this central line. Anywhere you can feel it, probably most strongly you'll feel it in the abdominal region, or behind, somewhere in your head. Energy can move up at that line, so one should be aware of that. And the general advice is you don't want to have energy rushing up that line. If you're rushing up the line, you're losing the ground. It may gently suffuse and rise, but you don't want to lose the ground, because this is where you get unbalanced and dizzy, or energy running out. So any emphasis should be, if in doubt, down. The upward direction will take care of itself. We need more to emphasize the descending, strong connection to the ground. When that's strong, and your body's there, you can open up, and then you feel a gentle quality of something rising that's warming and not violent. So down and the back, and then allowing, as you feel confident there, allowing muscles to relax, sense of the body opening and drawing to the center. So this is when we develop our Wu Qi position, this is something you can meditate on. So third movement, ball in the sky. Okay, so to explain that, as if you're hanging upside down. The arms are long, coming out of the sockets, palms face each other, and a large ball, like a balloon actually, a balloon with water in it. So we start with a few tentative moves, because this is going to be moving our spine, and spine we need to treat with a great deal of respect. You've got the vertebra with the discs in between the vertebrae, so now you're going to be turning on those discs. So we should treat this with a great deal of respect, because we don't want to damage the discs, and the discs may already be damaged. So you just feel it, and don't push. See if you get the sense of, as you're coming over, that the muscles in the body, the tissues can hold, so you're not suddenly throwing a lot of weight on your spine. Something is doing it progressively, so the rest of the body can act as a support as that weight comes over. And yes, that's not painful. And do a few tentative moves till you have confidence. And then breathing, this is the breathing out, coming over, and progressively allowing the ribs, the shoulders and the head to come over on the out breath. And in breath, breathing in. So the in breath is going to lift you up and settle you back again. Now what I've also brought into that after one or two turns is raising the heel. So I come to the right, I raise my right heel, and this increases the axis, the torque. So this left arm's then coming up and over, so increasing the lengthening effect in these intercostal region between the ribs, and also the neck muscles rolling over. Okay, into the out breath. Wait for the in breath to come. So let the in breath pick you up. Your right foot comes down. You come to the top. The out breath rolls over. You lift your left heel. Okay, so now you can see that actually my form is loosening somewhat. I'm not really focusing too much on that ball, to make so the ball can kind of get slightly more shapeless. And in fact, focusing much more on the effect in the ribs, rib cage, the spine, and the head. So these are often unconsciously held, and if we can progressively release the hold, so letting your head go, letting your head go, breathing out. Above all, don't turn. If you turn at the same time, you're putting two different angles on your discs, and this is dangerous. So don't turn. Don't twist. Let yourself tilt, but don't turn at the same time. Right, breathing out. And the in-breath, heel coming down, corresponding arms sweeping up, lengthening, come up to the top, in-breath completes, and then the out-breath also completes. Wait for the in-breath. So when you've done your 8 of those, I think 4 each side, bring your arms down, returning to the Wu Qi and seeing how you feel. Now this is certainly loosened up quite a bit, and so you might feel shaky or dizzy. Might be time to take a break. Break could be just go and sit down, or just bend your knees, flex a little, or let things settle. So you do what you work within your limits. Now another move. This is how we've done 3. Again, in terms of your day, maybe you just do 2 and that's it for the day or the morning. But if things are going well and you have more time and it's going well for you, you can take in the next form, which is the bow and arrow. Bow and arrow. So the arms come up so they're level with the shoulders, approximately, not too high. And one hand forms the bow as if there is you have a bow of a. The wood is quite tough, so the hand is held firmly. And you have this rather strong angle here. Fingers are pushed back. Spread. Fingers pushed back by the bow. The other hand, the string, the bow string. 2 fingers hooked around the bowstring. If you ever shoot arrows, and you probably don't, it doesn't take much to figure out. You have to pull the string as much as you push the bow, otherwise it's not going to go very far, is it? So And this is a piece, again, the synchronization, coherence of it. It's something that, first of all, people find they don't quite get. But everything traveling together. And finishing together and traveling together. So often it's the case that a person is very aware of their bow hand and the string is sort of there, and then at the end of it they go, you know, tug, or so it's your awareness can stretch. So it's not just there and then there. So this is for the meditative aspect of it, it's cultivating your attention to do this rather than this, and then that, this bit and then that bit, but your attention doing this. So we're also exercising our mind to stay in touch with all parts of that, like that, and also even this. It's like a spherical inclusion. As you're holding the bow and arrow, you're first of all getting the arm movements correct. But the other feature of it is to connect your eyes to the bow hand. So when you take aim, the arrow is going to rest between these two fingers. So you take aim between these two fingers. So your eyes are connected to that bow hand, and that's what turns your head. So the head has to move when the hand moves, has to stop when the hand stops, has to move linked to the hand. This helps these neck muscles to relax. It also begins to re-establish a coordination between the head and the body. Yeah. So brings our head back onto our body. Now, in often people's daily lives, that's not the case. The heads are out there. You know, and this is gone. While the hands are doing something, they're talking, what do you want, what do you want? Hands are doing this, and no connection. So we find the result of that is you get this dislocated head, which incessantly talks. And you're barely aware of the body, maybe your hand, and that's about it. And if you connect the two, the energy that connects the two, the energy can soothe and settle and compose. So very helpful to generate something that brings the head back into the body, and in a very cool and steady way, calm and steady way. So receptivity. So this is turning. Also, as we're pulling a bow, it's a tough bow. You want to make the feeling of emphatically taking a stand. So you're really, strengthening your legs. Don't tighten the muscles, but sending energy down. So it's like, what's happening in my legs, in my calves and my ankles and my feet as I do this. So your attention spreads in all directions. If you do it slowly, then you can do that. As the hands come back towards each other, they change into their opposites and they switch. So this hand hands the head over to this hand, which then carries it that way. Breathing in, and then carries it like that. And we take aim. As we take aim, finally, the final piece of this is your intention, which is your sense of determination. So we're standing, intention is quite light, just being present and turning. And as you form the arrow, you take aim, your determination increases to strong, sharp focus in there. So if that focus, that quality of mind itself is the arrow, it's sharp. It's not messing around with any of this, it's right there. And it's full, and then you soften. So determination be carried out perhaps through the eyes, a certain strengthening of focus. And remember also, as we strengthen, we soften in the opposite. Breathing out and breathing in. So in this form, at that point you gradually build up a sense of an energy running from that outstretched palm through the crossways, and also through this turning of the head, and being aware of your legs, you're aware of the midline. You're operating around that. So both these lines get some energy, and they meet about here. So this area of your body also gets a little bit of an energetic activation. You don't do anything in it. Don't do anything, but you maybe experience greater space or greater strength here. Bow and arrow. Next, cow gazing at the moon. Cow gazing at the moon. So turning, hips stay in line with the shoulders. Most people, their shoulders can turn more than their hips, but for this exercise we keep the coordination. So the hips, they're the leaders. This is the active region. This we always keep secondary to this region. So turning the hips, the shoulders stay in line with the hips. No further. Turning to the side is the out breath. Going back to the center, the in breath. The arms, and with these arms they come forward, which you may not see because you're looking this way, is the arm not here. Yeah. Because if it's here, this is a tight angle, this is a tight angle, this is a tight angle, this is a loose, open, 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 open. This closed, this open, this closed, this open, this open. So yeah, so this is a smooth curve. It's not. It's a smooth, large curve. Wherever it's closed, you can feel your muscles bind. Wherever it closes, you feel the muscles bind. And you want them to not bind. It goes against the grain because normally when we use our arms, we want our muscles to bind because we are operating that. But now we're not operating that, we're operating instead a process of opening and allowing energy to move through. The inner form, energy moving through. Outer form is there to support the inner form. Get the outer form right. It's not about, sometimes it feels strange or even difficult because you're not using your normal strengths, but develop it. So the arms are out. Palms open. This will tend to do this. So you've got to keep encouraging it to open up. Concave. And then with the out breath, the arms come up in their arc to face height. As they're doing so, the hands swivel on the wrists. So now the palms are facing out. Breathing in. Okay, so then breathing out. Breathing in, let the lead hand open, drawing the other hand behind it. Yeah. Back to the center. Breathing out, the back hand gently push to bring the whole form up. And so now I'm turning to the left, so my left hand leads, the right hand follows behind it. Left hand opens the door, coming to the out breath, the right hand closes. And we form a window with the hands. Window, about width of your face. And this is where the moon, full moon, and the face, the eyes are like a cow's, wide. Look, gazing at the moon. So can you imagine the mental state is not highly active. It's a kind of open, somewhat amazed state. There's a particular energy that goes with that. The face is all relaxed, eyes wide. And because we're gazing at the moon, there's a certain energy that comes up. Yeah? So the face is soft and loose, but it's also energized, by this quality of the gaze and the movement of the hands, because if you move your hand towards your face, the skin of your face rises up, the energy rises up. Yeah? Right? And towards your face, on your face, it feels something's coming close. So when hands swing up, face brightens, gazing at the moon. The eyes remain wide, not pinched, wide. So the effect of all these muscles here are loose, still energy is coming up. In fact, we're refreshing our face, sending energy up through the face. Helpful, because of course most of the time our face is talking, thinking, determining, shouting, smiling, laughing. It's got a lot of stuff happening in it, and you get a lot of tension up here. So with this, we're cultivating an open face that still has energy in it. The energy is now rising up through the breath into the face. Okay, cow gazing at the moon. So, how are you doing? Another movement, crane spreads its wings. You see that, you ever seen a crane? Those lovely long-legged birds that when they spread their wings, it's like they fly like this. Across the sky with the legs trailing behind them. Beautiful creature. So, crane spreads its wings and start with the leg form, the leg movement. Just to show it to you, same standing position. I'm just turning to this side just to present the profile of it. And opening this area in your back, and as we stand, then we start to bend the knees to lower the body. All the time you're doing this, you're making sure your stomach muscles don't tighten up, but let the legs carry your weight, gently lowering you. And then you get to as far as it's going to go, and then push down with your knees. Let the legs lift you. Again, here is relaxed, here is relaxed. Breathing out, descending. Breathing in. So avoid doing this. Keep your back straight. Turn your tail under, if anything. Turn the tail under. You won't go down so far, but that's not So important. Very strengthening for the legs. Really puts a lot on the legs. Then push down. With rising up the inhalation. And so, as we experience the rising, coming up your back, breathing in, rising up your back. You can feel aware of your shoulders, turn the shoulder blades in, complete, let the in-breath complete by that quality that opens your chest, and your shoulder blades turn into your back. Breathing in, till you begin to feel the sense of a spreading, spreading across here, down into your arms. It's quite natural with that to feel the arms lifting and opening. And then we have our wings. Okay, so now, when the wings have grown, breathing in, rolling the shoulders, throwing the arms forward, breathing out. Rolling the shoulders, lofting the arms forward, breathing out. Throwing the arms forward, the cushions under the hands, and breathing out. And can you extend your wings fully forward? Turn your tail under, to give you more balance. Crane spreads its wings. When you've done your 8, you only do 4. That feels as much as you can do. Whatever you do, you come to the end of it, slowing down. Crane comes to a standstill. And you stand in that. There are any of these moves that encourage rising up your back, which could be the qua squats or the raising the sky. Make sure you don't throw your head back. Or, so when you're coming up your back, then you tend to bend the midline. So you want this line to be, as best you can, relatively, not bent. Don't bend it. So it's a nice straight rising. So if you're doing this, it's not this kind of thing. This doesn't support the strengthening of this inner core. So that midline to get nice, strong energy going through it. This midline experience or phenomenon, if you talk to people who do craniosacral work, recognition is, for many people, this midline gets damaged, and they're not coordinated. And the damage can come through physical accident or emotional shock or trauma, where part of you jumps out and never really settles again. So the body can be quite energetically disconnected, quite disjointed, jittery, or strange. You know, you're sitting and you start twitching or something because your midline isn't strong enough, so you can sit, you know, these kind of kundalini things where you can start twitching. And, you know, so this line helps to keep everything nice and smooth and coordinated. And this you need to, you know, take your time. It's not forceful, but it's coordination, everything. So where the complete, as best you can, the linking, here's where it gets broken, here, this area. Sometimes broken behind the heart, broken here. Or broken sounds dramatic, but, you know, impaired, we could say. So with these, we keep this where it's either we're doing this, we're actually helping to get a nice smooth connection between the legs, the feet, and the lower region of the body. Yeah. Come to the chest, a nice connection from the belly to the abdomen. And then keeping your head in line with that. Yeah, so a nice, easy connection, the trunk and the head. So last of these moving, well no, this is the penultimate. This is the striking the dragon on the nose. So I'll first of all model it. Notice the fists, these are called baby fists. It's not squeezed, but lightly, like a baby. Fingers wrapped over the thumb. Okay, to explain that. We're going to operate the main trunk of the body in such a way that you have two pivoting points, the neck and the lower back. So these 2 points are going to pivot, give the back and spine a little bit of a, hopefully, a massage, tweak. By turning the hips, you turn your hips, turning hips, and keep your head straight. No. Do it again. You turn at the waist. Keep the hips straight. Turn at the waist, so that with this turning at the waist, hips facing front, turn at the waist, you get some twist in the lumbar region. Turn at the shoulders, keeping the head straight, you get a twist in the neck region. So turning at the hips, turning at the waist. Yeah. Keep your head straight in front. Turn the shoulders. Hips are still facing front, head still facing front. In between the two, you get the turn. Back. So that is energizing. It's energizing the center, the axis. So as we energize that, we roll it out down the arms into the fist. Now it's to get so your head doesn't move, because it's quite possible to roll your eyes so you think your head isn't moving because your eyes roll. So to actually pin your eyes on a distant object, and you'll feel the sensation in the back of your neck. Okay, so this is our breathing out. Breathing out, as you breathe out, we're moving from the right shoulder, the left shoulder is pulling back, the right shoulder is extending forward. It extends forward, the fist turns over, and the energy rolls down the arm into the fist to strike the dragon on the nose. At this point, rather as in the bow and arrow, the determination or the visual focus now rests on this notch here. So there's where you're punching the dragon. So at that point, one pointed, and then breathing in, releasing, softening that. So as we come breathing in, shoulders turn. As the hands pass each other, the fists change and move into the out breath. Breathing in, breathing in. No, sorry, this is breathing out, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing in, breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing in, breathing in, breathing in, breathing in, breathing out. So as you cultivate that, probably the most important first thing to get is that sense of keeping your hips straight in front, turning in your waist, keeping your head straight, turning in your shoulders. And building these forms up, it can be the case you can't get it all right in one go, so you get a detail. Okay, I think that's about there, then I don't have to give that too much more focus. Now get the arms. And fingers, it's not too difficult, but fists. And then the sense of extending from your shoulder. As if your energy isn't in your fist yet until it hits the dragon. And synchronizing it with breathing. So breathing out, squeezing everything out. Breathing in, breathing out. And again, if your energy picks up, you can bend your knees a little, give it more strength. Okay, then release. It says, striking the dragon on the nose. 8 of those. Last form is, I think it's called shaking the body to settle energy. So it's a very simple loosening up thing. I think the idea is it's sort of like when you're got a bag of flour or something, you toss it around, all the lumps come out. It loosens everything up. So it's a loosening exercise. When you bring your hands back onto this lumbar region, slightly above. So tuck them into the small of the back. So the wrists are on either side of the spine. And bring so that the hands fold over whatever's comfortable for you. So the fingers are lightly touching. And then you start to bounce with your legs. And the theme is 8 inhalations and 8 exhalations. And so the hands start to rattle around. So we breathe in sharply 8 times, then breathe out, puff out 8 times. Each of those is 1 cycle, so you do 8 of those. So at the end of it, everything is kind of shaken up a bit, and return to the standing. Okay, so those are you might say, the more dynamic forms, Bhadwanjin. So that's the end of the second phase. Third phase is static, or the outer form is static. These are called zhongzhe, which I believe means standing like a tree, and that's a good image to bear in mind. Standing like a tree, so the roots into the ground. So if your legs, your feet are growing taproot from the center, and the toes sending roots down into the ground. And we take up our Wu Chi position, paying attention to this region, loosening the arms, coming away from the sides of the body. And there are 4 of these positions, and you're recommended to practice the more dynamic forms for a while, day, weeks, until you feel that feels good. And then bring these in for a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes. And then when you've got one where you can comfortably hold it for about 10 minutes, then you move on to the second one. So the first form, very simple, it's more abdominal centered. So with this, as we're standing, take a little more of a squat, so that helps to strengthen legs. And widening your back, let your arms come round, circular. So again, not this, but this, like this, so circular. And with this form, I often talk about standing in the ocean. It gives one a sense of a very wide perceptual field and a floating quality to it. Hands are approximately abdominal range, in other words, below the solar plexus. Palms facing the abdomen. Good outreach. Palms open. Thumb keeping the palms open. Standing. And contemplate this circle, the outer, as if it is an unbroken ring. So there's a connection between the fingers and, of course, across between the shoulder blades. Hands actually are about a fist width apart, not pinched. And then you keep contemplating or building up mental attention to this ring, which the hard surfaces have the strength, soft surfaces are receptive. Soft surfaces include the front of your body. So this area of your body feels slightly concave, as if you are wrapped around a large ball in the ocean. Your body's like a towel wrapped around a large ball in the ocean. The ball is floating, it carries you. You rest on it. You keep bringing your mind into that and standing. So, the first few moments you check your legs, your feet, your back, get the outer form, and then contemplate any muscles. If you're tensing up in your shoulders, quite normal. Drop, bounce a little. Could be tensing in your belly, or your legs, or your face. Release what muscles you can in order to accomplish the experience of being held by the ball in the ocean. After a while, your arms will heat up, you'll feel warmth, and it can get quite intense tension. So you bear with it, but you bear with it not in a, sort of hard determination, but bear with by bringing your attention onto these tense areas, bearing them in mind, and contemplate heat, and then widen your attention as if that heat is transferring into the ball, if you're warming the ball up. So the ball holds you, and you warm the ball. Standing like a tree. Maybe you have a set an alarm for 2 minutes or something like that. And then build it up 3, 4, 5. In accordance with what's manageable for you. This can even change from morning to evening or day to day. Things get really difficult where you feel your mind is really struggling and can bounce a little, swing a little. When you've finished, or you think that's about all I want to do right now, don't drop it. Instead, release the ring, let the ball widen, let your arms float into the ocean. and then bringing it back in to the Dantian, the lower abdominal region. So both hands home in on that area of your body till they rest on the surface. Feeling the contact. So with the out breath, you feel your belly swell into your hands. With the in breath, your hands warm into your body. So it's as if you just have a very thin membrane between those two areas. So if you stood for 4 or 5 minutes in your form, it's good to spend at least 30 seconds or a minute just like this to steady, also to savor, because now there's no stress, and you savor the gathering of energy in the abdominal region. And you can even train yourself to dip your breath into that like a bucket going into a well, and then spreading it wherever you want, up through the chest, the head, as if you're bringing this juice to other parts of your body. So then when you've completed, you've still got a lot of energy in your hands, so you can, rub areas that might appreciate some refreshing. And release the form. Ground, here we are. Yeah, here we are. The day begins. So if you've done that one for a few months and it's good, it's feeling more comfortable, and you get up to say 10 minutes, feeling this isn't a strain, it's becoming good, you can move into the second form, which is standing in the stream. For this, we imagine we're standing in the stream, and the water is running under our feet, running this way. And so first of all, the water is only this deep, and you stand it, gradually the water level rises your calves, your thighs, up to your waist progressively, and you have to slightly stand against the push of the stream. It's coming up your back. You're standing, bracing yourself against the push of the stream. Let your hands come up, and they float on 2 balls, which are floating on the surface of the stream. This is approximately hip or waist level, not too high. And you stand like that, hands lightly cupped, balls underneath them, stream pushing from behind. Keep your arms long. And progressively what this will do, it will tend to draw your energy towards the back, and also the width, of course, and the front of the body opens up. So it's very strengthening for the back, and for realigning ourselves to the back, because most of the time we're very much thrown forward in our lives into our faces. So this is definitely helpful to feel that the back is where your strength is and your groundedness is. So with this we strengthen that, reset our alignment to the back. When you've done the required few minutes, let your hands drift forward on the stream. 2 balls merge into one. Again, returning to the abdomen. Rest there. So again, something you can build up. Third form. Not certain what the name of this one is, but it's a bit like gazing at the moon. Right? The arms come out, hands come up. Take up the stronger stand by bending the knees, and now we're resisting the ball that's coming this way. And as you resist it, you keep these arms fairly loose, as if they're just like shock absorbers, and the strength is in your back. So you're letting that pressure come through your arms into your back, resistance. Okay. Now you probably can't do that at first because your energy doesn't know about the back. It's take time to be able to, get your energy to go to the back and strengthen down the back and the ground. So it could be the case that this one again may take you a month or two to get to till anybody can stand like that, but to actually make it productive, whereby this becomes almost open, and it's the back that's doing the work without tension. Just the quality of energy in the back is bracing against the ball, and the hands start to warm up. They're not gripped, but the energy of the body grounding up into the back begins to radiate into the hands. Very lovely form. Yeah. It's good to get that sense of no when you need to say it. The last form is similar to the first, but it's actually raising it up to your chest and squatting a little deeper. So it's a different energy. Similar form, but this is more earthy, mother, you might say. This is slightly more heroic, chest-centered, strong, different quality. It's similar, very similar in the themes. Yeah. So that's plenty to get on with for a decade, I think.